What's up, guys? Simon here. In this episode, we're going to go ahead and talk about the one time an entrepreneur tried to hustle me for $25,000 over some products that I used to sell when I was a younger entrepreneur. I'm going to give you what happened, my advice when an entrepreneur or another individual you've known for a long time or in your area tries to take advantage of you, and this whole story of how I dealt with the situation. Hopefully there's some things to pick up from it. Now, I'm not saying this is the only way to handle a matter. However, when I grew up kind of street smart and I was a street kid. So your reputation was very important. And if one of these Russian hustlers would take advantage of you, a lot of them would take advantage of you. And I didn't want that to happen. So in this episode, we're just going to go over a moment in time when I was a younger entrepreneur and another entrepreneur who thought he was the man, had a Bentley, was doing his thing, thought he was some hot shot that was untouchable, tried to school me for 25 grand. So before I get into this video, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it. And let's get into it. Okay, so when I was younger, one of my first or second or third businesses was selling infrared saunas. That's right. You have seen Joe Rogan on his podcast talk about infrared saunas and the benefits or the health benefits of them.
Brain. Dr. Rhonda Patrick thinks it might create something called heat shock proteins that you get from a sauna. So there's a positive benefit health-wise to being in a sauna.
Right.
Very positive, to a point where she was saying that there was a 40% reduction in mortalities across the board.
Well, I used to import those saunas. I was one of the first importers back in the day when these things were not so readily available. They were not sold at Costco. I had 2-person saunas, 3, 4, 5, and even up to 6 or 7 people. Big saunas. And there was another individual in the neighborhood, a Russian guy. I'm not going to say his name. He's a chump, however. He basically used to drive this Bentley, and people thought he was some businessman, but he was just nothing more than a con artist. He would, write fake checks and so forth to people. I didn't get into that in terms of understanding what he did until it happened to me. And then other people were telling me, yeah, this guy's been doing that. So he also was in the infrared sauna business a while after I was in the business. And these gigantic saunas, so when I was selling these infrared saunas, selling them on eBay, and I was making a good profit, I would buy a sauna for say $500 from China, and I would sell it for $1,500 to $2,000, which is a very good profit. And I was making some money, but the problem was the damages. So I wanted to get out of the sauna business because things kept getting damaged and things were getting a little bit hard logistically to maintain these very expensive freight accounts. So I said, you know what, saunas are not for me. I don't have the logistics. I didn't have the storage. And it ended up costing a little more than I wanted. So this individual knew I was trying to get out of the sauna game because I went into a different product at that time to import from China. And he contacts me and he goes, hey, I hear you're leaving the sauna business. I'm still in it. I'd like to buy some saunas from you. And I said, okay, how many do you need? He said, well, sell me 5 pieces, So let's say they're $1,000 for 5 pieces. He came and he paid for, $5,000 for 5 pieces, took the 5 pieces. Great. Then he went ahead and he's like, hey, I need, 10 or 15 more. So let's say he brought me $15,000 in saunas and in purchasing the saunas. And I said, that's fine. So the transaction went smooth 2 times. And then he's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to take your whole inventory. And, people thought this guy was always serious. He was like put himself out there like he's some tough hotshot guy or whatever. And he's like, hey, I'll take all your inventory. And at that time, I had such a big inventory. I've had over 50 pieces or so. So he's like, I'll take them all. And I was like, damn, cool. I finally sold these saunas. I'm not making as much as I hope to make. I'm making a few hundred on top of what I bought them for, mine, plus the shipping expenses, etc. And he picked them up. I happened to fly to China that time period. After he picked them up, my staff let him have the saunas. He obviously left the check at the office, but then the staff called me and they said, hey, the check bounced. So all that money, whether it was like $50 or more $1,000, he's like, the check bounced and I got a call from my office and they said, hey, you wouldn't believe it, your check bounced, you got a bounce fee. So I called this guy and I said, hey bro, your check bounced, what's up, you have my product? And he's like, yeah, don't worry about it, I'm gonna send you another check. That check, it's a different company, don't worry about it. I said, okay. So he sent another check, like 2 weeks later, a check comes in and that check bounces as well. So I call him again and I'm like, bro, why do you keep sending me bounce checks? And at this time I was in China and he's like, bro, don't talk to me like that. Do you know who you're talking to? Do you know who I am? Do you know what I'm about? Like, in a threatening manner, as if this guy is somebody I can't address a problem with payment with. I said, bro, I don't care who you are and I don't care what you're talking about. I need my money. And if you don't have it, when I fly back from China, the very first thing I'm going to do is come see you. And he's like, you don't talk to me that way. Let's see what happens. You'll see what happens to you. I said, okay. So the moment I landed from China, I was really pissed while I was in China. I couldn't wait to get back. And I had like a week left. So it was a mental game. As soon as I got back from China, homie picked me up from the airport and we straight drove into this person's office in South City. And I walked into the office. I was like, where's this dude at? And there was a bunch of old ladies and I guess it was a shared office. And they're like, oh, he's in the back. So I walked in the back and this guy he's in the meeting with some other people I know and he's having like this warehouse meeting and so forth. And I said, hey, we need to talk. And we go into, he's like, meet me in my office. So we go into his office and I'm like, bro, you can't keep bouncing checks on me. I'm here to collect. He's like, F you, etc. He starts trying to push me and so forth. So I had to take care of that situation. After this guy woke up and he realized that at this point, this was more serious than it is. After I had to defend myself, this guy finally cut me a check. And it was pretty funny because my friends at the time, my friend that was with me there, he was like, bro, that was one of the most gangster things I've seen. And I said, yep. And then he decided to play a prank on me right after as I was driving with my wife, girlfriend at that time. He's like, bro, he hired some people to come after you and they want to meet you tonight. So I had to like get serious. And then he's like, I'm just playing. Anyway, moral of the story is when you're growing up tough or you're growing up in a neighborhood where people are trying to make it, and let's say they're Asians, Russians, they're whichever race, it doesn't really matter. If you're a city kid or you're growing up in a place like New York or you're growing up in a place like San Francisco or LA, you can't let somebody punk you in any aspect or regard, because once a piranha smells blood in the water, guess what? They're going to go ahead and attack you, and all of them are going to attack you. And that's the street mentality that I grew up with. So I did not want to get punked. I wanted to make sure a message got sent out that, hey, if someone is going to mess with me, it's not going to be easy. And there are so many quotes out there by Mayor Lansky, for example, where so basically it's a learning lesson for an entrepreneur or for anyone. And this could apply to anything, even in the office, etc. I'm not saying you go and approach someone or you let them, physically assault you or you defend yourself or any of that. It doesn't have to be violent at any point in time. However, when you're in an office and someone is taking advantage of you, or anyone at work is, or any of that matter, and you're getting bullied or you're getting kind of taken for your own money, you got to stand up for yourself. And if you don't, that is going to continue happening no matter what. Then the next person's going to come in, and the next person, and the next person. So you have to prepare for people always taking advantage of you, and you need to learn or strategize how to fight back. It could be in a legal matter. When someone's coming after you in a legal sense, you need to understand what you're going to do to them in the future or the next sense in terms of suing back, or what advantages you have to get your money back, or even defense. So as an entrepreneur, you have to learn that no matter what, you are not allowed to simply walk away from a matter that could potentially financially harm you, but you also have to be smart. You can't win every battle, and you can't do things the right way all the time to get what you've lost. However, you have to fight it. And this was one of the bigger learning lessons for me, because it led to a second story in the future where another individual who's a scum tried to also steal from me and also had to pay up at a later time, which I'll discuss if you guys like this type of video. Moral of the story is, don't believe the hype of all these people driving all these cars, acting they're all tough. They're all putting on a show. The second part of it is, they need to understand that you're not playing games as an entrepreneur, and you're going to the top no matter what, and you're going to be there without any type of interruption, and they'll think twice about picking on you down the road when you make big moves. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this story, truth story. The guy is a piece of crap. We know who that is, but that is the truth. And, luckily I got my money, so that was settled. Thank you for watching, and like the video if you like this story. Subscribe to the channel if you like this type of entrepreneur talk that comes from the heart. And I'll catch you guys here in the next video.